it was all about corporate giving, foundation giving, getting your numbers up, and then about focusing where you gave. And now it's about your entire value chain and how you're better serving society. Very inspiring work, and you are on the front lines of that.
So we don't really have a system. We have a system that creates wealth, in my judgment, because of the short-term nature of the emphasis. But I don't necessarily think the system is designed to encourage CEOs to think long-term. I don't think it's designed to encourage, and one of the challenges, I think, to try to change the mindset of this town is this is all about metrics. If you can measure it, we'll monitor it, and we'll reward it. I want to drive it, but I just think we've gone over the past 10 or 15 years, when we start evaluating a company's worth simply by the stock value, we're not appreciating the value added they have in their respective communities, not only in this country, but around the world, in terms of their engagement with fellow citizens. And I think that's a real challenge for corporate America.
And then your short-term strategy, you need to see as a stages along a continuum of reaching that longer-term goal. So it's not that are we focused long-term or short-term? No, we're focused on our vision and our strategy, and that means in the near term, we need to be doing A, B, and C. If you're very clear about what that strategy long-term is, and your firm commitment to stick to that strategy, right, then you'll attract the people who want to be part of that strategy, and the others who don't, and they'll find other companies to go invest in. So I think it's about confidence, it's about clarity, and then it's about a commitment to that path that convinces people you're serious. But that's not what the job of a leader and a leadership team in an organization is. It's to create long-term sustainable value, build a brand, and create opportunities and a sense of stewardship of paying it forward and how you leave the organization to those people that come behind you. So employee engagement is at the heart of it. In terms of this group and how do you deal with your CEO, I guess my advice would be, first of all, you've got to be really honest about where is your CEO on these topics we're talking about. Because my experience is, and CECP has shown this, I think, people are in very different places sometimes. And if you don't start with really an honest assessment of, am I talking about a CEO who is passionate about this, believes it in his or her heart, and I've got to help guide and push where necessary? Or am I talking about a CEO who kind of philosophically gets it, but is not really sure how to execute it, how to bring it to life, how to make it happen? Or am I dealing with a CEO who frankly doesn't get it and doesn't see the connection between employee engagement, sustainability, and his or her job? And I think don't underestimate that even the CEOs who really get it sometimes need the confidence to ignore many of the voices that are screaming in their ear that you need to cut this, reduce this, focus on profitability and margin, and nothing that's kind of long-term oriented.
But more importantly, once it's decided what the enterprise needs to do, take that passion and push it as long and hard as you possibly can.
It was only a few years ago that we recognized the straight line between social entrepreneurship and the fact that these were true purpose-driven leaders. So that was sort of our context for getting into the business of purpose.
And what's interesting is, and as folks in the room can relate, this is a group of people you really can't change the way that they see work. Work is about making a difference. It's about making an impact. This is the purpose-oriented workforce. And what we discovered was, in our first study that was just this last fall, called the Workforce Purpose Index, that 28% of the United States population was purpose-oriented. What if we started to orient our workforce around a purpose-oriented worker? What would it look like? Perhaps you would start to see greater creative agency. You'd start to see people that start talking about the sense of community that they have. Managers start to ask people not just, did you check the box, but did you make an impact? We could change our vocabulary. We could change our vernacular. And I'm so excited about this moment in history because it's the moment where we're going to see CSR rise to a whole new level. A new strategic seat at the table that's no longer extracurricular. It's now core. It's strategic. We're going to see a new merge between HR and CSR. Our people internally are no longer different than our people externally. It's all holistically our community.
This idea around authenticity and the way the organization sort of walks through the world and the way that they align sort of the values, the work that they do, and how they translate it to the employees, that's really super important. And I do think increasingly, and we see it in particular with these millennials, the need to feel like they're part of something larger, sort of this movement-based culture, however they define movements. And we sort of see these micro movements sort of bubbling up all over the world, all over the place. And I think that connective tissue is increasingly important to people like me who are running organizations, and it allows you to plug in your employees wherever they are on the social good to purpose spectrum.